This is a 2023 Polestar 2 dual motor. It's one of the models from Volvo's EV brand with performance roots that definitely still knows how to turn up the wick. The Polestar 2 was introduced in the 2021 model year and has seen incremental improvements since. But also for 2022, Polestar introduced the single motor Polestar 2, which is a front wheel drive version of the car. And for this year, 2023, the dual motor with the performance pack gets a power bump. This particular Polestar 2 is a dual motor with the performance pack, painted in Midnight, which is a $1,250 optional color. By the way, every color of the Polestar 2 is an optional color, except for one, a silver color, which Polestar calls magnesium. My name is Robin Warner, by the way, an experienced engineer and magazine editor, and all of my colors are standard equipment. I review all kinds of cars, from a $25,000 Ford Maverick to a $425,000 Rolls-Royce Cullinan. I'll happily jump into Honda Accords, BMW M3s, and Porsche 911 GT3s. And I have fun every time. Please subscribe and join me. The base price for a front-wheel drive Polestar 2, the single motor, is $49,800. Going with the dual motor increases that by $3,500 to $53,300. And my test car came with all the packs and the optional paint and cost $67,650. All of those prices are before any of the federal and state government incentives. With that, now's a good time for me to pull over and show you around and inside this car in a bit more detail. Now, it's probably no surprise that I'm most excited to drive this 2023 Polestar 2 dual motor because it has the performance pack. But this particular Polestar also has the Pilot pack and the Plus pack, so it's pretty much fully loaded and there's a lot to check out. So let's do that. Looking at the car from the front, you can see that not much has changed from its introduction in the 2021 model year, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's got a really interesting, distinct design. Really nice Polestar logo right here. Real interesting pattern, very three-dimensional in the grille here. Nice little Polestar engineered logo right here. Unlike many cars, this is all tastefully sized, not overwrought and in your face about it. And you do have these nice pieces of polished metal right here in the black to give contrast to what Polestar calls midnight paint. Also, we do have these what Polestar calls Thor's hammer daytime running lights right here, which I think is named cleverly at the very least. And of course, all this stuff is LED, fog lights down there and everything. So yeah, clean looking design. But I'm sure you're wondering, does it have a frunk? Yes, it does. 1.2 cubic feet worth of space partitioned into these two sections here. And in the corner, this is where you add windshield washer fluid. Looking at the car in profile, once again, this is definitely a unique shape. This is a hatchback. That is a hatch, not a trunk, but it's got this kind of like squared off look to it here. But then there's some subtle creativity to it, you know. There's this curve built into the lower part of the doors right here. Then it bulges out for the rear fender well. And you do have this nice little cut in the metal here as well. This black window trim around it. So yeah, it's an interesting shape to be sure. And it's actually not that big either. I'll go ahead and put the dimensions up on the screen right now so you can check that out and let you know that I have a lot more information in the description. 19-inch wheels are standard on the Polestar 2, but you can also get 20-inch wheels if you want, or with the performance pack you can get forged 20-inch wheels, as these are right here. So these are strong and light wheels that go on the performance pack too. And also behind them, that is a 4-piston Brembo brake caliper behind it, also courtesy of the performance pack package. And we're supposed to have summer performance tires as well, but alas, it is still that time of the year in Michigan. We're at the end of it, but it's still there. So we have winter tires on this particular Polestar 2. It's okay. We also have a strut front suspension, pretty standard for a car like this, And it also has Öhlins adjustable dampers as part of it, so that's really slick. And real quick, I'll show you in back, there's the size of the brakes, and we have a multi-link independent rear suspension back there. Very similar design elements carry on in the back of the car. I do quite like this like thin strip that kind of follows this curve around and goes the entire width of the rear of the car. It comes back, so the tail lights are in a sense one continuous piece. You do get another Polestar logo right here and a lot of angles coming in and out, up and down across the bumper here. It's an interesting setup. You do also get a bit of polished metal right around here, which is a nice little touch. And my pet peeve is not an issue here because there are no exhaust pipes to garner any fake ones. Let's check out cargo space. This does have the kick open sensor to open the lift. And it reveals 14 cubic feet of storage back here. Pretty deep floor, but because of the raked roof, it's not that tall in here. But you do get a couple of nice features. This folds out so you can partition luggage to keep it from sliding around as much, and you can also hook things to it back here. Beneath all of that is more storage down low, so if you want to partition it further, you can do that. And don't forget about your 1.2 cubic feet of storage up front. And if you need more than 14 cubic feet of storage, yes, that's easy enough to do. And with a couple of lever pulls, you now have 38 cubic feet of storage and room for two. And I think even though it's less cubic feet than normal, I think the shape of it will give me space for my bike. Let's find out. Ooh. Okay, I gotta be honest, that's pretty darn tight, but it does fit. So yeah, you could fit a road bike in the back of your Polestar 2. A bigger mountain bike might be tough. We do have 5 seat belts, but it is a little bit more narrow than other cars, so you wouldn't necessarily want to put 3 people back here if you can avoid it. I will say right off the bat, I do really enjoy these yellow-orange seat belts right here. It adds a pop of color to an otherwise fairly dark interior. I think that's a really nice touch. I am 5'11" tall, and I do have a pretty decent amount of knee room right here, about 3 inches. Seat bottom is a little bit low, but it's not too bad considering that we're in a fairly small hatchback right here. But you can see that I do have a good 90-degree or more bend in my knees. On the plus side, I do have enough headroom, if only just. And because this is a plus pack, we do have heated rear seats back here and 2 USB Type-C chargers down low. Not to mention an armrest with cup holders. Oh yeah. All right, let's check out the front. Polestar says that as standard, this is a vegan interior. No animal products used in any of the materials here. However, and there is the car waking up. However, the car does have Napa leather as an option. Also, you heard the car wake up. We do not have a start button in this car of any kind. As soon as you sit in the chair and put the car in drive, it's ready to get going. Reverse the process. When you get out of the car, there's no turning it off. It's a little bit odd, but once you get used to it, it's nice. You can see on the door we have the pretty typical controls right here. We do have 2-position seat memory right there. The seat is power adjusting, and that does include lumbar support. We do have a trunk release button to the left of the steering wheel, and you can adjust both the tilt and telescope of the steering. It is manually done with a lever right there. This steering wheel is a nice thick rim right here, and you do have controls on either side. Cruise control options on the left, media on the right. That is your 12.3-inch fully digital instrument cluster, which Polestar calls a drive display. And right next to that, we have a portrait-mounted 11.2-inch center console touchscreen, which Polestar calls free floating because there's no obvious mounts externally. It's just kind of hanging out. But what I really like about this touchscreen right here, this is an Android Automotive operating system. That means all of this is Android operating, which means standard equipment includes Google Maps, Google Play, and Google Assistant. Hey Google, Set the temperature to 68 degrees.
Okay, changing the temperature to 68 degrees.
Google Assistant works better than any other system I've used. Now, the other systems have been improving, and the closest is probably Toyota, but Google Assistant still is the best when it comes to these types of services. So it's very cool that Polestar just has it built in natively. And as of about the middle of 2022, this is now the Android R operating system, which I guess is better. So there you go. You do, of course, have Android Auto connectivity and Apple CarPlay. However, it is wired. The ports are down here, 2 USB Type-C ports. And right next to that, that is a wireless charge pad for your smartphone. It is part of the Plus pack. Now, you don't have to use Google Assistant to adjust the temperature. It's just cool that you can. But you can use the screen to adjust things right here. And you can see that you have a lot of different options. And included in those options, those are standard heated seats up front. The heated seats in back, as I said, are part of the Plus pack, as is that heated steering wheel as well. Now, most of the controls are right on the tablet right here, but you do have a separate play button, volume adjust, and those types of things right there, which is just above a pretty standard looking Prindle. Beneath that, you do have one cup holder, and if you lift this solar center console, you get a second cup holder right there. Looking up, we do have some light and this beautiful panoramic glass roof right there. It is tinted, so the harshness of the sun doesn't come through, but plenty of natural light does. This roof is also part of the Plus pack. Okay, let's talk drive modes. We don't really have them here, but we have plenty of driving adjustments. Hidden the vehicle, you can see that you can adjust your steering feel. You can adjust the stability control. You can adjust the one pedal drive, and you can adjust creep mode. That's just the driving dynamics right there. You can also adjust what assistance systems you have on. Also, charging information, and on and on. So there's a lot of ways to independently adjust the car, and in a lot of ways that would typically be part of normal, comfort, or sport driving modes. So you have the adjustment, but you can do so independently. I think this is the better way to do it, to have independent control of things and just have everything be an individual mode of sorts, as opposed to thumbing through 5 or 6 different drive modes. Anyway, I will be fussing with these a little bit on the drive, so hey, let's get back to it. All right, let's dig into this powertrain because this is a very good thing to talk about. As I said, the dual motor Polestar 2 with the performance pack gets more power. How much? A healthy amount. 68 horsepower and 15 more pound-feet of torque. And that means instead of getting an already healthy 408 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque from this dual electric motor system, you get 476 horsepower and 502 pound-feet of torque. More than 500 pound-feet of torque, of electric torque in this small hatchback. Oh, very, very good. By the way, this is an over-the-air software update. They found a way to manipulate the controls to get more horsepower out of the same hardware. And that means that 2021 and 2022 model year performance packed equipped Polestar 2s will eventually be able to get this upgrade if they want. That is coming soon, according to Polestar. Okay, but the performance pack isn't just about horsepower. In fact, it wasn't at all about horsepower until this model year. I'll go ahead and put a list of what you get as part of it. I did already show you those nice wheels and the brakes, but it also includes really nice shocks and some other changes. Real quick, the horsepower you get is from equal size and horsepowered electric motors. So it's the same output in front as it is in back. So if you don't have the power boost from the performance pack, it is 204 horsepower at each end and 243.4 pound-feet of torque at each end. I'm adding the 1/10 of a pound-foot of torque discipline because it does add up to an odd number, 487. The single motor, the front-wheel drive single motor Polestar 2 does get a bit of a power bump. You get 231 horsepower, so it does spin up a little harder, and you get the same 243 pound-feet of torque. And the front-wheel drive Polestar does have a different drive-down gear, so its top speed isn't quite as high, but it's still plenty high for all the interstate stuff. But that does also help improve acceleration from a standstill of what it would be if it had the same drive down gear as the dual motor Polestar 2. Now, as I showed you, you don't get drive modes per se, but you do get a lot of individual ways to adjust the way the Polestar 2 drives. And I think one of the most important for this EV is the amount of off accelerator deceleration you get. So just by lifting off the accelerator, how much will the car decelerate on its own to charge up the battery pack by slowing down? You get 3 levels of that. Standard is the highest, low, and then you can turn it off completely where it'll just coast like a standard automatic transmission equipped car. When you're in standard mode, the car will pretty much one pedal drive. You get about 0.3 of a G of deceleration at its max, which is plenty for normal driving conditions. But I don't want to just tell you that. Let me quickly show you that. Okay, standard one pedal drive mode, just cruising, lift off the throttle. And that is a good amount of deceleration. We are steadily losing speed, pretty fast rate. You could see how you could easily not ever touch the brake in normal driving mode. Okay, now I'm in the low one pedal drive mode, lifting off the accelerator. And you can feel that it is more than just coasting, but it's probably not much more than 0.1 of a G of deceleration, pretty soft. And you could see towards the end there, we were helped by going uphill. So that's that. And then finally off. All right, lifting off the accelerator. And yeah, there's nothing. That's just coasting. So there it is. So I definitely prefer standard myself. I like one pedal driving. I like having that analog feel where you can really just adjust the entire movement of the car, not just speeding up, but also slowing down in one very fluid motion with just one foot. I think that's a real nice advantage of electric vehicles. But if you'd rather have more of that traditional experience, it's easy to get it. Also, by the way, you can also turn on and off creep. What is creep? Creep is, again, that traditional automatic feel where the car starts to move slowly without touching the accelerator. And generally speaking, I think this is a fantastic powertrain. I think the amount of grunt you get from the dual motors is just stout in all levels and just feels omnipresent when you hit the accelerator. I mean, with no delay, one stab of the accelerator and it's so good. It's so quick. But they left plenty of throttle application. It's a nice and linear throttle map, so you can have smooth launches, smooth deceleration. I really appreciate that. And the 78 kilowatt hour battery provides what I think is a healthy amount of range. In this all-wheel drive version, you now get 260 miles of range. If you go with the front-wheel drive version, that bumps up to 270 miles. It is lighter after all. And that 260 miles of range is actually an improvement over the 2021 model year Polestar 2. And again, that's an improvement over controls in the software and how this works. The hardware is pretty much the same. But when it is time to recharge, you can recharge at up to 155 kilowatts, which means that it'll take about a half an hour to go from 10 to 80% battery capacity, which is not the best. There are, after all, vehicles that can charge at 350 kilowatts, which basically cuts that in half, 15 to 20 minutes to go from 10 to 80%, but still, it's not bad in the grand scheme of things. And if you're on a level 2 system, it takes about 8 hours to go from 0 to a completely full battery, 0 to 100%. That is a 48 amp, 240 volt system. All this talk about the battery, it is worth noting, this is not a light car. It's approaching 5,000 pounds, even though it's not that big. Well, the battery and the casing around the battery to protect it alone weighs 1,100 pounds. But bear in mind, that's a lot of weight very down low. So you do have a very nice and low center of gravity. And all this battery electric vehicle stuff does mean we do get very good fuel economy equivalent anyway. You get 105 miles to the gallon equivalent in the city, 96 on the highway, 100 combined. But while fuel economy and range are important, it's not nearly as much fun as accelerating, especially when you have all-wheel drive and 500 pound-feet of torque to play with, especially when you have a performance meter to actually look at. Have you done some accelerating? Yes, I tested that. Yes, I looked at the meter as well. Let me show you that now. Okay, time for an acceleration test. I do have the Polestar with the firm steering and with stability control in sport mode. And I also have the performance meter on in the center console touchscreen. Let me show you that real quick. Go to Performance, Launch, and as you can see, I'm ready to launch. Coming to a complete stop. This is an EV, so just stomp on the accelerator. Oh man! Oh man! Oh man! Oh. Wow! Instant response from the two electric motors, all-wheel drive, so no wheel slip of any kind, and boom! What an amazing instant pull back into the seat and just hard pull the entire time. Wow, yes, very, very, very strong acceleration from this Polestar 2 all-wheel drive dual motor performance pack. 68 extra horsepower. Whew. And there are the results. Yeah, this thing isn't slow. As I mentioned during the walk-around, we have a strut front suspension and a multi-link rear suspension, but we also have Öhlins dampers as part of this performance pack package. And you know, it's a hot hatch. So yes, even though we had winter tires on this car, I still had the test of handling. Let me show you that right now. All right, time for a handling test. I do once again have the Polestar in sport stability control mode. I do have the steering weight in firm, but I also do have winter tires. But I was curious. All right, let's see how it goes. Yeah, plenty of acceleration. No denying that. Woof. Oh my gosh. Not a lot of grip though. I mean, considering that we don't have much grip, pretty darn good body control, but that's partially because we don't have a lot of grip. Steering feels okay, but only okay. And chassis balance is really quite good, but again, with the winter tires, it's a little hard to truly judge. I think the rear would be a lot more stable on the performance summer tires. Right now, we basically have no understeer. This is a pretty neutral chassis. So maybe if you want to have some fun, winter tires is the way to go with this chassis. The steering weight is good and the steering is pretty precise, but the steering feel just isn't really there. It just feels a little bit detached from what's really going on the road. So that's an only so-so score, I have to say. But, you know, in terms of handling, in terms of body control, and certainly in terms of power exiting out of a corner, it's really, really strong. And I think would have the potential to be a decent amount of fun. So overall, decent handler. I bet a lot better on proper tires. Okay, obviously a car like this is probably not going to spend most of its time going to your own personal tail of the dragon to have just one crazy drive after another. Probably going to need to do some more of the domestic task in this world. And how does it ride? How does it feel on the road? I have to say, it feels quite good. You can have a little bit of pride in the fact that this is a fully vegan interior, unless you choose to go with the Napa leather. And it's a very functional interior. I am definitely a fan of the Android Automotive operating system. I think it works very well, very cleanly, and Google Assistant is a fantastic tool to have. Hey Google, set the temperature to 72 degrees.
All right, changing the temperature to 72 degrees.
And even though it does have a lot of sporting intentions with this performance pack, it still has what I think is a perfectly reasonable ride. You have a stiffer than average ride for a normal sedan or hatchback, but to me at least, it's still plenty compliant. And because of that, you still have good control of the body at all times, so I really appreciate that. And that's true on roads like this or on the interstate. Yes, I tested it there as well. Let me show you that. Okay, as opposed to just listing the different safety systems that are available on the Polestar 2, especially with this Pilot package equipped car, I'm just going to show you because it's easy to do in the center console touchscreen because it's easy to turn things on and off. So I first go to Vehicle, then to Assist, and then you can see that I have driver support, lane keeping aid, driver alert, road sign, collision avoidance, and I can choose between standard and adaptive cruise control. I prefer standard cruise control, but for the sake of this test, I will have it in adaptive cruise control. All right, time for a quick stint on the interstate. I do have steering effort back to normal mode, which is pretty darn light for me. Stability control is fully back on, and let's see how it goes. Okay, cruise control is set, going 75 miles an hour to go with traffic. At this speed, the electric motors are making very little noise, so engine noise is fantastically low. And wind noise is pretty good as well. You can hear little buffeting here and there, but it's generally pretty quiet in here. This cabin is really well isolated, and road noise is pretty good as well. But one more time, I do have to caveat that a little bit. These are winter tires. I have a feeling that the summer performance tires would be a little bit better, so that's just something to keep in mind. But generally, this is a very comfortable and quiet interstate car, and range is tracking with what is indicated, so that part is comforting as well. I do have lane keeping assist, and it will follow the lane if you have a subtle curve, but I did play with this a little bit, and it is nothing like Toyota's lane tracing assist. It's more of a bumper bowl, keep you from getting out of the lane kind of a system, but I will briefly take my hands off the wheel and show you that it does work. And there we go. See, we got to the edge of the lane and then it corrected us, get back to the center. But now we're heading towards the other edge of the lane. So it's following the curve, but not well. And there, it just corrected again and also yelled that my hands weren't on the wheel. So there's that. And also, I will briefly show you what you see on the instrument cluster. That is a good set of information to have there. Generally speaking, I'm happy with how this feels on the interstate. I think the ride is plenty compliant to go over the bumps on the road and the heaves and the expansion joints and things like that. I'm happy with wind noise. I'm very happy with engine noise. And as long as you don't have range anxiety about where you're going, I think this would be a great road trip car. You can tow with the Polestar 2. If you equip the Polestar 2 with the towing package, it will handle up to 2,000 pounds of stuff hitched to its back. Not a ton, but you know, that's definitely something. That's a small boat, jet skis, motocross bikes, snowmobile, those kinds of things. So yeah, that's something. So what do we have in this 2023 Polestar 2? We have a sleeper. We have a rocket ship. We have something that is absolutely a blast to drive in a straight line. The response is immediate and it is a lot. I love the instant acceleration feel you get in this car. And you also have very distinct styling with this. You will stand out in the Polestar 2. It genuinely looks different. Now, me personally, I don't think it looks amazing, but I think it looks cool. There's also kind of like some pride to take in the fact that Polestar is putting a lot of work into using as little carbon as possible to build its cars. Obviously, going EV means you don't have any tailpipe emissions, but they're also thinking holistically about the way the car's built, even the way that the precious metals are used to mine for the batteries. So that holistic approach you can really respect and appreciate, and I think it's going to be a requirement going forward, and in that sense, Volvo's ahead of the game. If you're interested in a car that takes that kind of approach and then just happens to be incredibly fast, this is a great choice for you. I'm Robin Warner, thank you for watching. And if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you showed me by giving it a thumbs up. Doing so helps me out quite a lot. Also, if you're interested in a car like this, you should also definitely check out the Genesis GV60. That is Hyundai's premium brand, and the Genesis GV60 is built off the same platform that does the Ioniq 5 and the Kia EV6. And that thing is also surprisingly quick. And from there, I've reviewed a whole bunch of stuff. Something's going to pop up on the screen next to me. Hopefully it's something you're interested in. And if you do end up watching it, I definitely hope you like it. Okay, goodbye for now.